Most insects create lift by the stiff-winged mechanism of insect flight with steady-state aerodynamics. This creates a leading-edge vortex continuously as the wing moves. The feathery wings of thrips, however, generate lift by clap and fling, a mechanism discovered by the Danish zoologist Turkel Weisfo in 1973. In the clap part of the cycle, the wings approach each other over the insect's back, creating a circulation of air which sets up vortices and generates useful forces on the wings. The leading edges of the wings touch, and the wings rotate around their leading edges, bringing them together in the clap. The wings close, expelling air from between them, giving more useful thrust. The wings rotate around their trailing edges to begin the fling, creating useful forces. The leading edges move apart, making air rush in between them and setting up new vortices, generating more force on the wings. The trailing edge vortices, however, cancel each other out with opposing flows. Weisfo suggested that this cancellation might help the circulation of air to grow more rapidly, by shutting down the Wagner effect which would otherwise counteract the growth of the circulation. 68, 69, 70, 71. Clap and fling flight mechanism after Sane 2003. Clap 1. Wings close over back. Clap 2. Leading edges touch, wing rotates around leading edge, vortices form. Clap 3. Trailing edges close, vortices shed, wings close giving thrust. Black circle and heavy line, wing rotches and bristles black curved arrows, flow, blue arrows, induced velocity, orange arrows, net force on wing. Fling 1. Wings rotate around trailing edge to fling apart. Fling 2. Leading edge moves away, air rushes in, increasing lift. Fling 3. New vortex forms. At leading edge, trailing edge vortices cancel each other, perhaps helping flow to grow faster, Weisfo 1973. Apart from active flight, thrips, even wingless ones, can also be picked up by winds and transferred long distances. During warm and humid weather, adults may climb to the tips of plants to leap and catch air current. Wind-aided dispersal of species has been recorded over 1,600 kilometers of sea between Australia and South Island of New Zealand. 14. It has been suggested that some bird species may also be involved in the dispersal of thrips. Thrips are picked up along with grass in the nests of birds and can be transported by the birds. 72. A hazard of flight for very small insects such as thrips is the possibility of being trapped by water. Thrips have non-wetting bodies and have the ability to ascend a meniscus by arching their bodies and working their way headfirst and upwards along the water surface in order to escape. 73. Life cycle. Thrips nymph. Scale bar is 0.5 millimeters. Thrips lay extremely small eggs, about 0.2 millimeters long. Females of the suborder Terebrantia cut slits in plant tissue with their ovipositor, and insert their eggs, one per slit. Females of the suborder Tubulifera lay their eggs singly or in small groups on the outside surfaces of plants. 74. Some thrips such as Elaphothrix tuberculatus are known to be facultatively ovoviviparous, retaining the eggs internally and giving birth to male offspring. 75. Females in many species guard the eggs against cannibalism by other females as well as predators. 76. Thrips are hemimetabolous, metamorphosing gradually to the adult form. The first two instars, called larvae or nymphs, are like small wingless adults, often confused with springtails without genitalia. These feed on plant tissue. In the Terebrantia, the third and fourth instars, and in the Tubulifera also a fifth instar, are non-feeding resting stages similar to pupae. In these stages, the body's organs are reshaped, and wing buds and genitalia are formed. 74. The larvae of some species produce silk from the terminal abdominal segment which is used to line the cell or form a cocoon within which they pupate. 77. The adult stage can be reached in around 8 to 15 days. Adults can live for around 45 days. 78. Adults have both winged and wingless forms. In the grass thrips Anaphothrix obscurus, for example, the winged form makes up 90% of the population in spring, in temperate zones, while the wingless form makes up 98% of the population late in the summer. 79. Thrips can survive the winter as adults are through egg or pupal diapause. 14. Thrips are haplodiploid with haploid males, from unfertilized eggs, as in Hymenoptera, and diploid females capable of parthenogenesis, reproducing without fertilization, many species using orinotoky, a few using thylidoky. 80. In Pezithrips kellianus females hatch from larger eggs than males, possibly because they are more likely to be fertilized. 81. The sex-determining bacterial endosymbiont Wolbachia is a factor that affects the reproductive mode. 52. 80. 82. Several normally bisexual species have become established in the United States with only females present. 80. 83. Human impact. A tomato infected with the thrips-borne tospavirus, tomato spotted wilt virus. As pests. Ponticulothrips diospirosea on finger. Many thrips are pests of commercial crops due to the damage they cause by feeding on developing flowers or vegetables, causing discoloration, deformities, and reduced marketability of the crop. Some thrips serve as vectors for plant diseases, such as tospaviruses. 84. Over 20 plant-infecting viruses are known to be transmitted by thrips, but perversely, less than a dozen of the described species are known to vector tospaviruses. 85. These enveloped viruses are considered among some of the most damaging of emerging plant pathogens around the world, with those vector species having an outsized impact on human agriculture. Virus members include the tomato spotted wilt virus and the impatiens necrotic spot viruses. The western flower thrips, Franklinella occidentalis, has spread until it now has a worldwide distribution, and is the primary vector of plant diseases caused by tospaviruses. 86 Other viruses that they spread include the genera Alarvirus, alpha, beta, gamma, carmavirus, sobamovirus and maclomovirus. 87 Their small size and predisposition towards enclosed places makes them difficult to detect by phytosanitary inspection, while their eggs, laid inside plant tissue, are well protected from pesticide sprays. 78 When coupled with the increasing globalization of trade and the growth of greenhouse agriculture, thrips, unsurprisingly, are among the fastest growing group of invasive species in the world. Examples include F. occidentalis, Thrips simplex, and Thrips palmi. 88 Flower-feeding thrips are routinely attracted to bright floral colors, including white, blue, and especially yellow, and will land and attempt to feed. It is not uncommon for some species, e.g., Franklinella tritici and Limithrips cerealium, to bite humans under such circumstances. Although no species feed on blood and no known animal disease is transmitted by thrips, some skin irritation has been described. 89 Management. A robberfly preying on thrips. Thrips develop resistance to insecticides easily, and there is constant research on how to control them. This makes thrips ideal as models for testing the effectiveness of new pesticides and methods. 90 Due to their small sizes and high rates of reproduction, thrips are difficult to control using classical biological control. Suitable predators must be small and slender enough to penetrate the crevices where thrips hide while feeding, and they must also prey extensively on eggs and larvae to be effective. Only two families of parasitoid Hymenoptera parasitize eggs and larvae, the Euliphidae and the Trichogrammatidea. Other biocontrol agents of adults and larvae include anthochorid bugs of genus Aureus, and phytosaid mites. Biological insecticides such as the fungi Bovaria bassiana and Verticillium lecani can kill thrips at all life cycle stages. 91 Insecticidal soap spray is effective against thrips. It is commercially available or can be made of certain types of household soap. Scientists in Japan report that significant reductions in larvae and adult melon thrips occur when plants are illuminated with red light. Hemiptera. Hemiptera, Hemiptera, from ancient Greek hemipteris half-winged, is an order of insects, commonly called true bugs, comprising over 80,000 species within groups such as the cicadas, aphids, planthoppers, leafhoppers, assassin bugs, bed bugs, and shield bugs. They range in size from 1 mm, 0.04 in, to around 15 cm, 6 in, and share a common arrangement of piercing sucking mouthparts. 3. The name, true bugs, is often limited to the suborder Heteroptera. 4. Entomologists reserve the term bug for Hemiptera or Heteroptera. 5. Which does not include other arthropods or insects of other orders such as ants, bees, beetles, or butterflies. In some varieties of English, all terrestrial arthropods, including non-insect arachnids, and myriapods also fall under the colloquial understanding of bug. A. Many insects with bug in their common name, especially in American English, belong to other orders. For example, the lovebug is a fly. 9. And the maybug and ladybug are beetles. 10. The term is occasionally extended to colloquial names for freshwater or marine crustaceans, e.g. Balmain bug, Moreton bay bug, mudbug, and used by physicians and bacteriologists for disease-causing germs, e.g. superbugs. 5. Most hemipterans feed on plants, using their sucking and piercing mouthparts to extract plant sap. Some are blood-sucking, or hematophagous, while others are predators that feed on other insects or small invertebrates. They live in a wide variety of habitats, generally terrestrial, though some are adapted to life in or on the surface of freshwater, e.g. pond skaters, water boatmen, giant water bugs. Hemipterans are hemimetabolous, with young nymphs that somewhat resemble adults. Many aphids are capable of parthenogenesis, producing young from unfertilized eggs. This helps them to reproduce extremely rapidly in favorable conditions. Humans have interacted with the Hemiptera for millennia. Some species, including many aphids, are significant agricultural pests, damaging crops by sucking the sap. Others harm humans more directly as vectors of serious viral diseases. The bed bug is a persistent parasite of humans, and some kissing bugs can transmit Chagas disease. Some species have been used for biological control of insect pests or of invasive plants. A few hemipterans have been cultivated for the extraction of dyestuffs such as cochineal and carmine, and for shellac. Cicadas have been used as food, and have appeared in literature since the Iliad in ancient Greece. Hemiptera is the largest order of hemimetabolous insects, not under Most hemipterans feed on plants, using their sucking and piercing mouthparts to extract plant sap. Some are blood-sucking, or hematophagous, while others are predators that feed on other insects or small invertebrates. They live in a wide variety of habitats, generally terrestrial, though some are adapted to life in or on the surface of freshwater, e.g. pond skaters, water boatmen, giant water bugs. Hemipterans are hemimetabolous, with young nymphs that somewhat resemble adults. Many aphids are capable of parthenogenesis, producing young from unfertilized eggs. This helps them to reproduce extremely rapidly in favorable conditions. Humans have interacted with the Hemiptera for millennia. Some species, including many aphids, are significant agricultural pests, damaging crops by sucking the sap. Others harm humans more directly as vectors of serious viral diseases. The bed bug is a persistent parasite of humans, and some kissing bugs can transmit Chagas disease. Some species have been used for biological control of insect pests or of invasive plants. A few hemipterans have been cultivated for the extraction of dyestuffs such as cochineal and carmine, and for shellac. Cicadas have been used as food, and have appeared in literature since the Iliad in ancient Greece. Hemiptera is the largest order of hemimetabolous insects, not undergoing complete metamorphosis, though some examples such as male scale insects do undergo a form of complete metamorphosis. 11 Containing over 95,000 named species. Other insect orders with more species are all holometabolous, meaning they have a pupal stage and undergo complete metamorphosis. The majority of species are terrestrial, including a number of important agricultural pests, but some are found in freshwater habitats. These include the water boatmen, backswimmers, pond skaters, and giant water bugs. 12. Hemiptera belong to the insect superorder Paraneoptera, which includes lice, Socodia, thrips, Thysanoptera, and the true bugs of Hemiptera. Within Paraneoptera, Hemiptera is most closely related to the sister clade Thysanoptera. 13. Hemiptera. Temporal range, Moscovian Holocene. Species from each of the 4 suborders of Hemiptera, clockwise from top left, Acanthosoma labradoroides, Heteroptera. Xenophys forsteri, Calearintia, Magicicada septendecim, Ochinorintia, and aphids, Sternorintia. Scientific classification domain, Eukaryota kingdom, Animalia phylum, Arthropoda class, Insecta unranked Paraneoptera superorder, Condylognatha. Order, Hemiptera. Fossil planthopper. Fulgoromorpha, from the early Cretaceous Crotto Formation of Brazil, circa 116 Maya. The fossil record of hemipterans goes back to the Carboniferous Moscovian. 14. The oldest fossils are of the Archaecidinidae from the lower Permian and are thought to be basal to the Ochinorintia. Fulgoromorpha and Cicadomorpha appear in the upper Permian, as do Sternorintia of the Siloidea and Alerodoidea. Aphids and coccoids appear in the Triassic. The Calearintia extend back to the lower Jurassic. 15. The Heteroptera first appeared in the Triassic. 16. The present members of the order Hemiptera, sometimes referred to as Rhynchota, were historically placed into 2 orders, the so-called Homoptera and Heteroptera Hemiptera, based on differences in wing structure and the position of the rostrum. Homoptera was established as paraphyletic group and an obsolete name. 17, 18, 19. The order is now divided into 4 suborders, Heteroptera, Sternorintia, Ochinorintia, and Calearintia. 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. The earlier work was based on nuclear DNA, but later phylogenetic analysis using mitochondrial DNA suggests that Homoptera may be monophyletic after all, a sister group of Heteroptera. 25. The cause of the disparity in the analyses is suggested to be the long branch attraction effect in phylogenetic analysis, due to rapidly evolving DNA regions. 25. The cladogram shows Hemiptera's placement within Paraneoptera, as well as how Hemiptera's 4 suborders are related. English names are given in parentheses where possible. 13. Sternorintia. Large milkweed bug nymph feeding on milkweed before extracting its stylet, sheathing it again in its rostrum. The defining feature of hemipterans is their beak, in which the modified mandibles and maxillae form a stylet, which is sheathed within a modified labium. The stylet is capable of piercing tissues and sucking liquids, while the labium supports it. The stylet contains a channel for the outward movement of saliva and another for the inward movement of liquid food. A salivary pump drives saliva into the prey, a sebareal pump extracts liquid from the prey. Both pumps are powered by substantial dilator muscles in the head. The beak is usually folded under the body when not in use. The diet is typically plant sap, but some hemipterans such as assassin bugs are predators. 29-30. Both herbivorous and predatory hemipterans inject enzymes to begin digestion extraorally, before the food is taken into the body. These enzymes include amylase to hydrolyze starch, polygalacturonase to weaken the tough cell walls of plants, and proteinases to break down proteins. 31. Although the hemiptera vary widely in their overall form, their mouthparts form a distinctive rostrum. Other insect orders with mouthparts modified into anything like the rostrum and stylets of the Hemiptera include some Phyraphthora, but for other reasons they generally are easy to recognize as non-hemipteran. Similarly, the mouthparts of Siphonophthora, some Diptera and Thysanoptera superficially resemble the rostrum of the Hemiptera, but on closer inspection the differences are considerable. Aside from the mouthparts, various other insects can be confused with Hemiptera, but they all have biting mandibles and maxillae instead of the rostrum. Examples include cockroaches and sosids, both of which have longer, many segmented antennae, and some beetles, but these have fully hardened forewings which do not overlap. 32. Wing structure. The forewings of Hemiptera are either entirely membranous, as in the Sternorintia and Ochinorintia, or partially hardened, as in most Heteroptera. The name, Hemiptera, is from the Greek hemi, half, and pteron, wing, referring to the forewings of many Heteropterans which are hardened near the base, but membranous at the ends. Wings modified in this manner are termed hemelytra, singular, hemelytran by analogy with the completely hardened elytra of beetles, and occur only in the suborder Heteroptera. In all suborders, the hindwings, if present at all, are entirely membranous and usually shorter than the forewings. 12. The forewings may be held, roofwise, over the body typical of Sternorintia and Ochinorintia. 33. Or held flat on the back, with the ends overlapping typical of Heteroptera. 12. The antennae in Hemiptera typically consist of 4 or 5 segments, although they can still be quite long, and the tarsi of the legs have 2 or 3 segments. 34. Sound production. Many hemipterans can produce sound for communication. 35. The song of male cicadas, the loudest of any insect, is produced by timbal organs on the underside of the abdomen, and is used to attract mates. The timbals are drum-like discs of cuticle, which are clicked in and out repeatedly, making a sound in the same way as popping the metal lid of a jam jar in and out. 36. Stridulatory sounds are produced among the aquatic Coraxidae and Nodonectidae backswimmers, using tibial combs rubbed across rostral ridges. 37. 38. Life cycle. An ant mimicking predatory bug Myrmecoris gracilis. Hemipterans are hemimetabolous, meaning that they do not undergo metamorphosis, the complete change of form between a larval phase and an adult phase. Instead, their young are called nymphs, and resemble the adults to a greater or lesser degree. The nymphs molt several times as they grow, and each instar resembles the adult more than the previous one. Wing buds grow in later stage nymphs. The final transformation involves little more than the development of functional wings, if they are present at all, and functioning sexual organs, with no intervening pupal stages in holometabolous insects. 39. Parthenogenesis and viviparity. Aphid giving birth to live female young. Many aphids are parthenogenetic during part of the life cycle, such that females can produce unfertilized eggs, which are clones of their mother. All such young are females, thyladochi, so 100% of the population at these times can produce more offspring. Many species of aphid are also viviparous. The young are born live rather than laid as eggs. These adaptations enable aphids to reproduce extremely rapidly when conditions are suitable. 40. Locomotion. Pond skaters are adapted to use surface tension to keep above a freshwater surface. Hemipterans make use of a variety of modes of locomotion including swimming, skating on a water surface and jumping, as well as walking and flying like other insects. 41, 42, 43. Swimming and skating. Several families of Heteroptera are water bugs, adapted to an aquatic lifestyle, such as the water boatmen Coryxidae, water scorpions Nepidae, and backswimmers Nodonectidae. They are mostly predatory, and have legs adapted as paddles to help the animal move through the water. 41. The pond skaters or water striders, Geridae, are also associated with water, but use the surface tension of standing water to keep them above the surface. 44. They include the sea skaters in the genus Holobates, the only truly marine group of insects. 41. Adult and nymph microbialia water bugs using Marangoni propulsion. Marangoni propulsion. Marangoni effect propulsion exploits the change in surface tension when a soap-like surfactant is released onto a water surface, in the same way that a toy soap boat propels. Adult and nymph microbialia water bugs using Marangoni propulsion. Marangoni propulsion. Marangoni effect propulsion exploits the change in surface tension when a soap-like surfactant is released onto a water surface, in the same way that a toy soap boat propels itself. Water bugs in the genus Microbialia, Belliidae, can travel at up to 17 centimeters per second, twice as fast as they can walk, by this means. 44. Flight. Flight is well developed in the Hemiptera, although mostly used for short-distance movement and dispersal. Wing development is sometimes related to environmental conditions. In some groups of Hemiptera, there are variations of winged, short-winged, and wingless forms within a single species. This kind of polymorphism tends to be helpful when habitats are temporary, with more energy put into reproduction when food is available and into dispersal through flight when food becomes scarce. In aphids, both winged and wingless forms occur, with winged forms produced in greater numbers when food resources are depleted. Aphids and whiteflies can sometimes be transported very long distances by atmospheric updrafts and high-altitude winds. 42. Wing length polymorphism is notably rare in tree-living Hemiptera. 45. Jumping. Many Ochinorintia, including representatives of the cicadas, leafhoppers, treehoppers, planthoppers, and froghoppers, are adapted for jumping, saltation. Treehoppers, for example, jump by rapidly depressing their hind legs. Before jumping, the hind legs are raised and the femora are pressed tightly into curved indentations in the coccyx. Treehoppers can attain a takeoff velocity of up to 2.7 meters per second and an acceleration of up to 250 grams. The instantaneous power output is much greater than that of normal muscle, implying that energy is stored and released to catapult the insect into the air. 46. Cicadas, which are much larger, extend their hind legs for a jump in under a millisecond, again implying elastic storage of energy for sudden release. 43. Sedentary. Instead of relying on any form of locomotion, most Sternorintia females are sedentary or completely sessile, attached to their host plants by their thin feeding stylets which cannot be taken out of the plant quickly. 47. Ecological roles. Feeding modes. Herbivores. Leaf galls formed by plant lice, Psyllidae, Chamaesyci celastroids var. Stoke C. Most hemipterans are phytophagous, using their sucking and piercing mouthparts to feed on plant sap. These include cicadas, leafhoppers, treehoppers, planthoppers, froghoppers, aphids, whiteflies, scale insects, and some other groups. Some are monophages, being host-specific and only found on one plant taxon. Others are oligophages, feeding on a few plant groups, while others again are less discriminating polyphages and feed on many species of plant. 30. The relationship between hemipterans and plants appears to be ancient, with piercing and sucking of plants evident in the early Devonian period. 48. Hemipterans can dramatically cut the mass of affected plants, especially in major outbreaks. They sometimes also change the mix of plants by predation on seeds or feeding on roots of certain species. 49. Some sapsuckers move from one host to another at different times of year. Many aphids spend the winter as eggs on a woody host plant and the summer as parthenogenetically reproducing females on a herbaceous plant. 50. A twig wilting bug, Coridae, piercing and sucking sap from a zinnia. Phloem sap, which has a higher concentration of sugars and nitrogen, is under positive pressure unlike the more dilute xylem sap. Most of the Sternorintia and a number of Ochinorintian groups feed on phloem. Phloem feeding is common in the Fulgoromorpha, most Cicadidae, and in the Heteroptera. The typhlocybine cicadelids specialize in feeding on non-vascular mesophyll tissue of leaves, which is more nutritious than the leaf epidermis. Most Heteroptera also feed on mesophyll tissue where they are more likely to encounter defensive secondary plant metabolites, which often leads to the evolution of host specificity. 51. Obligate xylem feeding is a special habit that is found in the Ochinorintia among Cicadoidea, Cercopoidea and in Cicadelline cicadelids. Some phloem feeders may take to xylem sap facultatively, especially when facing dehydration. 52. Xylem feeders tend to be polyphagous. 53. To overcome the negative pressure of xylem requires a special subarrial pump. 54. Phloem feeding Hemiptera typically have symbiotic microorganisms in their gut that help to convert amino acids. Phloem feeders produce honeydew from their anus. A variety of organisms that feed on honeydew form symbiotic associations with phloem feeders. 55. 56. Phloem sap is a sugary liquid low in amino acids, so insects have to process large quantities to meet their nutritional requirements. Xylem sap is even lower in amino acids and contains monosaccharides rather than sucrose, as well as organic acids and minerals. No digestion is required, except for the hydrolysis of sucrose, and 90% of the nutrients in the xylem sap can be utilized. 30. 57. Some phloem sap feeders selectively mix phloem and xylem sap to control the osmotic potential of the liquid consumed. 58. A striking adaptation to a very dilute diet is found in many hemipterans. A filter chamber, a part of the gut looped back on itself as a countercurrent exchanger, which permits nutrients to be separated from excess water. 59. The residue, mostly water with sugars and amino acids, is quickly excreted as sticky honeydew, notably from aphids but also from other Ochinorintia and Sternorintia. 60. Some Sternorintia including psyllids and some aphids are gall formers. These sap-sucking hemipterans inject fluids containing plant hormones into the plant tissues, inducing the production of tissue that covers to protect the insect and also act as sinks for nutrition that they feed on. The hackleberry gall psyllid, for example, causes a woody gall on the leaf petioles of the hackleberry tree it infests. 61. And the nymph of another psyllid produces a protective lurp out of hardened honeydew. 30. Predators. Most other hemipterans are predatory, feeding on other insects, or even small vertebrates. This is true of many aquatic species which are predatory, either as nymphs or adults. 34. The predatory shield bug, for example, stabs caterpillars with its beak and sucks out the body fluids. 62. The saliva of predatory heteropterans contains digestive enzymes such as proteinase and phospholipase, and in some species also amylase. The mouthparts of these insects are adapted for predation. There are toothed stylets on the mandibles able to cut into and abrade tissues of their prey. There are further stylets on the maxillae, adapted as tubular canals to inject saliva and to extract the predigested and liquefied contents of the prey. 63. Hematophagic ectoparasites. A few hemipterans are hematophagic ectoparasites. 64. Feeding on the blood of larger animals. These include bedbugs and the triatomine-kissing bugs of the assassin bug family Regiviidae, which can transmit the dangerous Chagas disease. 41. The first known hemipteran to feed in this way on vertebrates was the extinct assassin bug Triatoma dominicana, found fossilized in amber and dating back about 20 million years. Fecal pellets fossilized beside it show that it transmitted a disease-causing trypanosoma, and the amber included hairs of the likely host, a bat. 65. As symbionts. Leafhoppers. Protected by meat ants. Some species of ant protect and farm aphids, Sternorintia, and other sap-sucking hemipterans, gathering and eating the honeydew that these hemipterans secrete. The relationship is mutualistic, as both ant and aphid benefit. Ants such as the yellow anthill ant, Lasius flavus, breed aphids of at least 4 species, Geoica utricularia, Tetraenera ulmi, Forta marginata and Forta formicaria, taking eggs with them when they found a new colony. In return, these aphids are obligately associated with the ant, breeding mainly or wholly asexually inside anthills. 66. Ants may also protect the plant bugs from their natural enemies, removing the eggs of predatory beetles and preventing access by parasitic wasps. 30. Some leafhoppers, Ochinorintia, are similarly milked by ants. In the Corcovado rainforest of Costa Rica, wasps compete with ants to protect and milk leafhoppers. The leafhoppers preferentially give more honeydew, more often, to the wasps, which are larger and may offer better protection. 67. As prey, defenses against predators and parasites. Masked hunter nymph has camouflaged itself with sand grains. Hemiptera form prey to predators including vertebrates, such as birds, and other invertebrates such as ladybirds. 68. 69. In response, hemipterans have evolved antipredator adaptations. Ranitra may feign death, thanatosis. Others such as Carpocorus purpuripennis secrete toxic fluids to ward off arthropod predators. Some Pentatomidae such as Dolichorus are able to direct these fluids at an attacker. Toxic cardenolide compounds are accumulated by the Heteropteran Onchopeltis fasciatus when it consumes milkweeds, while the chorade stinkbug Amorbus rubiginosus acquires 2-hexenol from its food plant, eucalyptus. Some long-legged bugs mimic twigs, rocking to and fro to simulate the motion of a plant part in the wind. 69. The nymph of the masked hunter bug camouflages itself with sand grains, using its hind legs and tarsal fan to form a double layer of grains, coarser on the outside. 70. The Amazon rainforest cicada Hemiptera maculopennis displays bright red diametic flash coloration on its hindwings when threatened. The sudden contrast helps to startle predators, giving the cicada time to escape. The colored patch on the hindwing is concealed at rest by an olive-green patch of the same size on the forewing, enabling the insect to switch rapidly from cryptic to diametic behavior. 71b. Firebugs, Pyrocorus apterus, protect themselves from predators with bright aposematic warning coloration, and by aggregating in a group. Some hemipterans such as firebugs have bold aposematic warning coloration, often red and black, which appear to deter passerine birds. 74. Many hemipterans including aphids, scale insects and especially the planthopers secrete wax to protect themselves from threats such as fungi, parasitoidal insects and predators, as well as abiotic factors like desiccation. 75. Hard waxy coverings are especially important in the sedentary Sternorintia such as scale insects, which have no means of escaping from predators. Other Sternorintia evade detection and attack by creating and living inside plant galls. 47. Nymphal Cicadoidea and Cercopoidea have glands attached to the Malpighian tubules in their proximal segment that produce mucopolysaccharides, which form the froth around spittlebugs, offering a measure of protection. 76. Parental care is found in many species of Hemiptera, especially in members of the Membracidae and numerous Heteroptera. In many species of shield bug, females stand guard over their egg clusters to protect them from egg parasitoids and predators. 77. In the aquatic Belostomatidae, females lay their eggs on the back of the male which guards the eggs. 78. Protection provided by ants is common in the Ochinorintia. 30. Interaction with humans. Colony of cottony cushion scale, a pest of citrus fruits. As pests. Although many species of Hemiptera are significant pests of crops and garden plants, including many species of aphid and scale insects, other species are harmless. The damage done is often not so much the deprivation of the plant of its sap, but the fact that they transmit serious viral diseases between plants. 79. They often produce copious amounts of honeydew which encourages the growth of sooty mold. 80. Significant pests include the cottony cushion scale, a pest of citrus fruit trees. 81. The green peach aphid and other aphids which attack crops worldwide and transmit diseases. 82. And jumping plant lice which can be plant-specific and transmit diseases, as with the Asian citrus psyllid which transmits citrus greening disease. 83. For pest control. Genus Podosus spine soldier bug eggs and then the recently hatched first instar bugs. Members of the families Regiviidae, Phymatidae and Nabidae are obligate predators. Some predatory species are used in biological pest control. These include various nabids, 84, and even some members of families that are primarily phytophagous, such as the genus Geocorus in the family Ligaidae. 85. Other hemipterans are omnivores, alternating between a plant-based and an animal-based diet. For example, Dicyphus hesperus is used to control whitefly on tomatoes but also sucks sap, and if deprived of plant tissues will die even if in the presence of whiteflies. 86. The spine soldier bug Podosus maculiventris sucks body fluids from several pests including the larva of the Colorado beetle and the Mexican bean beetle. 87. Insect products. Cochineal scale insects being collected from a prickly pear in Central America. Illustration by José Antonio de Alzate y Ramirez, 1777. Other hemipterans have positive uses for humans, such as in the production of the dyestuff carmine cochineal. The FDA has created guidelines for how to declare when it has been added to a product. 88. The scale insect Dactylopius coccus produces the brilliant red-colored carminic acid to deter predators. Up to 100,000 scale insects need to be collected and processed to make a kilogram, 2.2 pounds, of cochineal dye. 89. A similar number of lac bugs are needed to make a kilogram of shellac, a brush-on colorant and wood finish. 90. Additional uses of this traditional product include the waxing of citrus fruits to extend their shelf life, and the coating of pills to moisture-proof them, provide slow release or mask the taste of bitter ingredients. 91. As human parasites and disease vectors. Bedbug nymph, Cymex lectularius, engorged with human blood. Chagas disease is a modern-day tropical disease caused by Trypanosoma cruzi and transmitted by kissing bugs, so called because they suck human blood from around the lips while a person sleeps. 92. The bedbug, Cymex lectularius, is an external parasite of humans. It lives in bedding and is mainly active at night, feeding on human blood, generally without being noticed. 93. 94. Bedbugs mate by traumatic insemination. The male pierces the female's abdomen and injects his sperm into a secondary genital structure, the spermallage. The sperm travel in the female's blood, hemolymph, to sperm storage structures, seminal conceptacles. They are released from there to fertilize her eggs inside her ovaries. 94. 95. As food. Deep-fried cicadas, Cryptotympana atrata, in Chinese Shandong cuisine. Some larger hemipterans such as cicadas are used as food in Asian countries such as China. 96. And they are much esteemed in Malawi and other African countries. Insects have a high protein content and good food conversion ratios, but most hemipterans are too small to be a useful component of the human diet. 97. At least 9 species of Hemiptera are eaten worldwide. 98. In art and literature. Cicadas have featured in literature since the time of Homer's Iliad, and as motifs in decorative art from the Chinese Shang dynasty, 1766–1122 BC. They are described by Aristotle in his History of Animals and by Pliny the Elder in his Natural History. Their mechanism of sound production is mentioned by Hesiod in his poem Works and Days, when the scalamus flowers, and the tuneful Tetyx sitting on his tree in the weary summer season pours forth from under his wings his shrill song. 99. In mythology and folklore. Among the bugs, cicadas in particular have been used as money, in folk medicine, to forecast the weather, to provide song, in China, and in folklore and myths around the world. 100. Threats. Large-scale cultivation of the oil palm Elaeus guineensis in the Amazon basin damages freshwater habitats and reduces the diversity of aquatic and semi-aquatic Heteroptera. 101. Climate change may be affecting the global migration of hemipterans including the potato leafhopper, Emposca fabi. Warming is correlated with the severity of potato leafhopper infestation, so increased warming may worsen infestations in future. 102. Notes. A. The Museum of New Zealand notes that, in everyday conversation, bug refers to land arthropods with at least 6 legs, such as insects, spiders, and centipedes. 6. In a chapter on bugs that are not insects, the entomologist Gilbert Wallbauer specifies centipedes, millipedes, arachnids, spiders, daddy longlegs, scorpions, mites, chiggers and ticks, as well as the few terrestrial crustaceans, sobugs and pillbugs. 7. But argues that, including legless creatures such as worms, slugs, and snails among the bugs stretches the word too much. 5. Bug is used for a harmful microorganism, typically a bacterium. 8. B. The green-red flash coloration earns the insect the name of stop-and-go cicada. Cicadidae, the true cicadas, is one of 2 families of cicadas, containing almost all living cicada species with more than 3,200 species worldwide. Neotobison linnae. The earliest fossils of cicadas more closely related to Cicadidae than to Tedigarctidae date to the Jurassic period. The morphology of well-preserved stem cicadids from mid-Cretaceous Burmese amber from Myanmar suggests that unlike many modern cicadas, they were either silent or only made quiet sounds. 2. The oldest modern cicadids date to the Paleocene. 3. Cicadas are large insects characterized by their membranous wings, triangular formation of 3 ocelli on the top of their heads, and their short, bristle-like antennae. 4. Cicadas are generally separated into 2 categories based on their adult emergence pattern. Annual cicadas Cicadidae. Temporal range. Neotobison. Scientific classification domain. Eukaryota kingdom. Animalia phylum. Arthropoda class. Insecta order. Hemiptera suborder. Ochinorintia superfamily. Cicadoidea family. Cicadidae. Batch. 1789. Remain underground as nymphs for 2 or more years and the population is not locally synchronized in its development, so that some adults mature each year or in most years. Periodical cicadas also have multiple year life cycles but emerge in synchrony or near synchrony in any one location and are absent as adults in the intervening years. The most well-known periodical cicadas, genus Magicicada, emerge as adults every 13 or 17 years. 5. Ecology. Communication. Cicadas are known for the loud airborne sounds that males of most species make to attract mates. One member of this family, Brevissana brevis, the shrill thorntree cicada, is the loudest insect in the world, able to produce a song that exceeds 100 decibels. 6. Male cicadas can produce 4 types of acoustic signals: songs, calls, low-amplitude songs, and disturbance sounds. 7. Unlike members of the order Orthoptera grasshoppers, crickets, and katydids who use stridulation to produce sounds, members of Cicadidae produce sounds using a pair of tymbals, which are modified membranes located on the abdomen. In order to produce sound, each tymbal is pulled inwards by a connected muscle, and the deformation of the stiff membrane produces a click. 8. Reproduction. Newly emerged cicadas climb up trees and molt into their adult stage, now equipped with wings. Males call to attract females, producing the distinct noisy songs cicadas are known for. Females respond to males with a click, made by flicking their wings. Once a male has found a female partner, his call changes to indicate that they are a mating pair. 9. Classification. Cicadidae is one of 2 families within the superfamily Cicadoidea. This superfamily is in the suborder Ochinorintia, containing cicadas, hoppers, and relatives, within the order Hemiptera, the true bugs. There are 5 subfamilies within Cicadidae: Cicadidae, Cicadinae, Tetigomyiinae, Tibicinae, 10, and Darotetigenae. The cicadas, scades, are a superfamily, the Cicadoidea, of insects in the order Hemiptera, true bugs. They are in the suborder Ochinorintia, along with smaller jumping bugs such as leafhoppers and froghoppers. The superfamily is divided into 2 families, the Tedigarctidae, with 2 species in Australia, and the Cicadidae, with more than 3,000 species described from around the world. Many species remain undescribed. Nearly all of cicada species are annual cicadas with the exception of the few North American periodical cicada species, genus Magicicada, which in a given region emerge en masse every 13 or 17 years. Cicadas have prominent eyes set wide apart, short antennae, and membranous front wings. They have an exceptionally loud song, produced in most species by the rapid buckling and unbuckling of drum-like tymbals. The earliest known fossil Cicadomorpha appeared in the Upper Permian period. Extant species occur all around the world in temperate to tropical climates. They typically live in trees, feeding on watery sap from xylem tissue, and laying their eggs in a slit in the bark. Most cicadas are cryptic. The vast majority of species are active during the day as adults, with some calling at dawn or dusk. Only a rare few species are known to be nocturnal. One exclusively North American genus, Magicicada, the periodical cicadas, which spend most of their lives as underground nymphs, emerge in predictable intervals of 13 or 17 years, depending on the species and the location. The unusual duration and synchronization of their emergence may reduce the number of cicadas lost to predation, both by making them a less reliably available prey, so that any predator that evolved to depend on cicadas for sustenance might starve waiting for their emergence, and by emerging in such huge numbers that they will satiate any remaining predators before losing enough of their number to threaten their survival as a species. 1. The annual cicada. Only a rare few species are known to be nocturnal. One exclusively North American genus, Magicicada. The periodical cicadas, which spend most of their lives as underground nymphs, emerge in predictable intervals of 13 or 17 years, depending on the species and the location. The unusual duration and synchronization of their emergence may reduce the number of cicadas lost to predation, both by making them a less reliably available prey, so that any predator that evolved to depend on cicadas for sustenance might starve waiting for their emergence, and by emerging in such huge numbers that they will satiate any remaining predators before losing enough of their number to threaten their survival as a species. 1. The annual cicadas are species that emerge every year. Though these cicadas' life cycles can vary from 1 to 9 or more years as underground nymphs, their emergence above ground as adults is not synchronized, so some members of each species appear every year. 2. Cicadas have been featured in literature since the time of Homer's Iliad and as motifs in art from the Chinese Shang dynasty. 3. They have also been used in myth and folklore as symbols of carefree living and immortality. The cicada is also mentioned in Hesiod's Shield LL 393-394, in which it is said to sing when millet first ripens. Cicadas are eaten by humans in various parts of the world, including China, Myanmar, Malaysia, and Central Africa. 4. The name is directly from the onomatopoeic Latin cicada. 5, 6b. A 17-year cicada, Magicicada, Robert Evans Snodgrass, 1937. The superfamily Cicadoidea is a sister of the Cercopoidea. The froghoppers. Cicadas are arranged into two families. The Tedigarctidae and Cicadidae, the two extant species. Of the Tedigarctidae include one in southern Australia and the other in Tasmania. The family Cicadidae is subdivided into the subfamilies Cicadidae, Cicadinae, Darotetigenae, Tibicinae or Tedigodinae, and Tetigomyiinae. 8. They are found on all continents except Antarctica. Some previous works also included a family-level taxon called the Tibicinae. The largest species is the Malaysian emperor cicada Megapomponia imperatoria. Its wingspan is up to about 20 centimeters, 8 in. 9. Cicadas are also notable for the great length of time some species take to mature. 10. At least 3,000 cicada species are distributed worldwide, in essentially any habitat that has deciduous trees, with the majority being in the tropics. Most genera are restricted to a single biogeographical region, and many species have a very limited range. This high degree of endemism has been used to study the biogeography of complex island groups such as in Indonesia and Asia. 11. There are several hundred described species in Australia. Cicada. Temporal range. Annual cicada, Neotobison linnae. Calling song of Magicicada cassini. Scientific classification domain, Eukaryota kingdom, Animalia phylum, Arthropoda class, Insecta order, Hemiptera suborder, Ochinorintia infraorder, Cicadomorpha. Superfamily, Cicadoidea. Cicadidae. Cicadinae. Tibicinae. Tedigarctidae. 8. And New Zealand, c. around 150 in South Africa, over 170 in America north of Mexico, 12, at least 800 in Latin America, 13, and over 200 in Southeast Asia and the Western Pacific. 14. About 100 species occur in the Palearctic. A few species are found in southern Europe, 10, and a single species was known from England, the New Forest cicada, Cicadetta montana, which also occurs in continental Europe. 15. Many species await formal description and many well-known species are yet to be studied carefully using modern acoustic analysis tools that allow their songs to be characterized. Many of the North American species are the annual or jarfly or dog-day cicadas, members of the Neotobison, Megatibicin, or Hotoa genera, so named because they emerge in late July and August. 16. The best-known North American genus, however, may be Magicicada. These periodical cicadas have an extremely long life cycle of 13 or 17 years, with adults suddenly and briefly emerging in large numbers. 16, 17. Australian cicadas are found on tropical islands and cold coastal beaches around Tasmania, in tropical wetlands, high and low deserts, alpine areas of New South Wales and Victoria, large cities including Sydney, Melbourne, and Brisbane, and Tasmanian highlands and snowfields. Many of them have common names such as cherry nose, brown baker, red eye, greengrocer, yellow Monday, whiskey drinker, double drummer, and black prince. The Australian greengrocer, Cyclocula australacei, is among the loudest insects in the world. 18. A chorus cicada, a species endemic to New Zealand. Cicadas in Japan. More than 40 species from 5 genera populate New Zealand, ranging from sea level to mountain tops, and all are endemic to New Zealand and its surrounding islands, Kermadec Islands, Chatham Islands. One species is found on Norfolk Island, which technically is part of Australia. 19. The closest relatives of the NZ cicadas live in New Caledonia and Australia. Mesozoic fossil forewing of Mesogerian superbum, Australia. Paleontology. Fossil Cicadomorpha first appeared in the late Triassic. The superfamily Paleontinoidea contains 3 families. The Upper Permian Dunstoniidae are found in Australia and South Africa, and also in younger rocks from China. The Upper Triassic Mesogerionidae are found in Australia and South Africa. 20. This group, though, is currently thought to be more distantly related to Cicadomorpha than previously thought. 21. The giant cicada Prolistra. Lithographica from Germany Jurassic, about 145 to 150 million years ago. The Paleontinidae or giant cicadas, though only distantly related to true cicadas, come from the Jurassic and Lower Cretaceous of Eurasia and South America. 20. The first of these was a forewing discovered in the Tainton Limestone Formation of Oxfordshire, England. It was initially described as a butterfly in 1873, before being recognized as a cicada-like form and renamed Paleontina ulitica. 22. Teddygarctidae and Cicadidae had diverged from each other prior to or during the Jurassic, as evidenced by fossils related to both lineages present by the Middle Jurassic, approximately 165 million years ago. The morphology of well-preserved fossils of early relatives of Cicadidae from the mid-Cretaceous Burmese amber of Myanmar suggests that unlike many modern cicadids, they were either silent or only made quiet sounds. 23. Most fossil Cicadidae are known from the Cenozoic. 24. And the oldest unambiguously identified modern cicadid is Dabaspia beercreekensis, subfamily Tibicinae, from the Paleocene, around 56 to 59 million years ago. 25. Description. A Japanese min zemi, called with onomatopoeia, Hyalus immaculata, annual cicada. A Japanese nini zemi, niniizemi, called with onomatopoeia, Platyplora kempferi, annual cicada. Cicadas are large insects made conspicuous by the courtship calls of the males. They are characterized by having 3 joints in their tarsi, and having small antennae with conical bases and 3 to 6 segments, including a seta at the tip. 26. The Ochinorintia differ from other hemipterans by having a rostrum that arises from the posteroventral part of the head, complex sound-producing membranes, and a mechanism for linking the wings that involves a down-rolled edging on the rear of the forewing and an upwardly protruding flap on the hind wing. 11. Cicadas are feeble jumpers, and nymphs lack the ability to jump altogether. Another defining characteristic is the adaptations of the forelimbs of nymphs for underground life. The relict family. Biology. Teddygarctidae differs from the Cicadidae in having the prothorax extending as far as the scutellum, and by lacking the tympanal apparatus. 11. A black cicada just after molting in the garden of a private house, Midwest Saitama Prefecture, Japan. 2017. The adult insect, known as an imago, is 2 to 5 centimeters, 1 to 2 in total length in most species. The largest, the empress cicada, Megapomponia imperatoria, has a head body length around 7 centimeters, 2.8 in, and its wingspan is 18 to 20 cm, 7-8 in. 10-27. Cicadas have prominent compound eyes set wide apart on the sides of the head. The short antennae protrude between the eyes or in front of them. They also have 3 small ocelli located on the top of the head in a triangle between the 2 large eyes. This distinguishes cicadas from other members of the Hemiptera. The mouthparts form a long, sharp rostrum that they insert into the plant to feed. 28. The postclypus is a large, nose-like structure that lies between the eyes and makes up most of the front of the head. It contains the pumping musculature. 29. The thorax has 3 segments and houses the powerful wing muscles. They have 2 pairs of membranous wings that may be hyaline, cloudy, or pigmented. The wing venation varies between species and may help in identification. The middle thoracic segment has an operculum on the underside, which may extend posteriorly and obscure parts of the abdomen. The abdomen is segmented, with the hindermost segments housing the reproductive organs, and terminates in females with a large, saw-edged ovipositor. In males, the abdomen is largely hollow and used as a resonating chamber. 28. The surface of the forewing is superhydrophobic. It is covered with minute, waxy cones, blunt spikes that create a water-repellent film. Rain rolls across the surface, removing dirt in the process. In the absence of rain, dew condenses on the wings. When the droplets coalesce, the cicada leaps several millimeters into the air, which also serves to clean the wings. 30. Bacteria landing on the wing surface are not repelled. Rather, their membranes are torn apart by the nanoscale-sized spikes, making the wing surface the first known biomaterial that can kill bacteria. 31. Temperature regulation. Desert cicadas such as Diceroprocta apache are unusual among insects in controlling their temperature by evaporative cooling, analogous to sweating in mammals. When their temperature rises above about 39 degrees Celsius, 102 degrees Fahrenheit, they suck excess sap from the food plants and extrude the excess water through pores in the tergum at a modest cost in energy. Such a rapid loss of water can be sustained only by feeding on water-rich xylem sap. At lower temperatures, feeding cicadas would normally need to excrete the excess water. By evaporative cooling, desert cicadas can reduce their bodily temperature by some 5 degrees Celsius. 32-33. Some non-desert cicada species such as Magicicada tretacem also cool themselves evaporatively, but less dramatically. 34. Conversely, many other cicadas can voluntarily raise their body temperatures as much as 22 degrees Celsius, 40 degrees Fahrenheit, above ambient temperature. 35. Song. Cicada sound producing organs and musculature. A. Body of male from below, showing cover plates. B. From above, showing drum-like tymbals. C. Section, muscles that vibrate tymbals. D. A tymbal at rest. E. Thrown into vibration, as when singing. The singing of male cicadas is produced principally and in the majority of species using a special structure called a tymbal, a pair of which lies below each side of the anterior abdominal region. The structure is buckled by muscular action and, being made of resilin, unbuckles rapidly on muscle relaxation, producing their characteristic sounds. Some cicadas, however, have mechanisms for stridulation, sometimes in addition to the tymbals. Here, the wings are rubbed over a series of midthoracic ridges. In the Chinese species Subsaltria yangi, both males and females can stridulate. 36. The sounds may further be modulated by membranous coverings and by resonant cavities. 26. The male abdomen in some species is largely hollow, and acts as a sound box. By rapidly vibrating these membranes, a cicada combines the clicks into apparently continuous notes, and enlarged chambers derived from the tracheae serve as resonance chambers with which it amplifies the sound. The cicada also modulates the song by positioning its abdomen toward or away from the substrate. Partly by the pattern in which it combines the clicks, each species produces its own distinctive mating songs and acoustic signals, ensuring that the song attracts only appropriate mates. 16. The teddygarctid, or hairy cicadas Teddygarcta crinita of Australia and T. tomentosa have rudimentary timbals in both sexes and do not produce airborne sounds. Both males and females produce vibrations that are transmitted through the tree substrate. They are considered as representing the original state from which other cicada communication has evolved. Song, new. South American species Phyticina rana is about 29 degrees Celsius. 84 degrees Fahrenheit. During sound production, the temperature of the timbal muscles was found to be significantly higher. 38. Many cicadas sing most actively during the hottest hours of a summer day, roughly a 24-hour cycle. 39. Most cicadas are diurnal in their calling and depend on external heat to warm them up, while a few are capable of raising their temperatures using muscle action, and some species are known to call at dusk. 35. Conichia gigas and Frogatoides typicus are among the few that are known to be truly nocturnal, and there may be other nocturnal species living in tropical forests. 40. 41. Cicadas call from varying heights on trees. Where multiple species occur, the species may use different heights and timing of calling. 42. 43. While the vast majority of cicadas call from above the ground, two Californian species, Oconagana polyjula and Ovanduzii, are known to call from hollows made at the base of the tree below the ground level. The adaptive significance is unclear, as the calls are not amplified or modified by the burrow structure, but this may avoid predation. 44. Although only males produce the cicada's distinctive sounds, both sexes have membranous structures called tympana, singular, tympanum, by which they detect sounds, the equivalent of having ears. Males disable their own tympana while calling, thereby preventing damage to their hearing. 45. A necessity partly because some cicadas produce sounds up to 120 decibels, SPL, 45, which is among the loudest of all insect-produced sounds. 46. The song is loud enough to cause permanent hearing loss in humans should the cicada be at close range. In contrast, some small species have songs so high in pitch that they are inaudible to humans. 47. For the human ear, telling precisely where a cicada song originates is often difficult. The pitch is nearly constant, the sound is continuous to the human ear, and cicadas sing in scattered groups. In addition to the mating song, many species have a distinct distress call, usually a broken and erratic sound emitted by the insect when seized or panicked. Some species also have courtship songs, generally quieter, and produced after a female has been drawn to the calling song. Males also produce encounter calls, whether in courtship or to maintain personal space within choruses. 48. 026. 130. The songs of cicadas are considered by entomologists to be unique to a given species, and a number of resources exist to collect and analyze cicada sounds. 49. Life cycle. In some species of cicadas, the males remain in one location and call to attract females. Sometimes, several males aggregate and call in chorus. In other species, the males move from place to place, usually with quieter calls, while searching for females. The Teddygarctidae differ from other cicadas in producing vibrations in the substrate rather than audible sounds. 11. After mating, the female cuts slits into the bark of a twig where she deposits her eggs. 11. Both male and female cicadas die within a few weeks after emerging from the soil. Although they have mouthparts and are able to consume some plant liquids for nutrition, the amount eaten is very small and the insects have a natural adult lifespan of less than 2 months. When the eggs hatch, the newly hatched nymphs drop to the ground and burrow. Cicadas live underground as nymphs for most of their lives at depths down to about 2.5 meters, 8 feet. Nymphs have strong front legs for digging and excavating chambers near to roots, where they feed on xylem sap. In the process, their bodies and interior of the burrow become coated in anal fluids. In wet habitats, larger species construct mud towers above ground to aerate their burrows. In the final nymphal instar, they construct an exit tunnel to the surface and emerge. 11. They then molt, shed their skins, on a nearby plant for the last time, and emerge. 11. Both male and female cicadas die within a few weeks after emerging from the soil. Although they have mouthparts and are able to consume some plant liquids for nutrition, the amount eaten is very small and the insects have a natural adult lifespan of less than 2 months. When the eggs hatch, the newly hatched nymphs drop to the ground and burrow. Cicadas live underground as nymphs for most of their lives at depths down to about 2.5 meters, 8 feet. Nymphs have strong front legs for digging and excavating chambers near to roots, where they feed on xylem sap. In the process, their bodies and interior of the burrow become coated in anal fluids. In wet habitats, larger species construct mud towers above ground to aerate their burrows. In the final nymphal instar, they construct an exit tunnel to the surface and emerge. 11. They then molt, shed their skins, on a nearby plant for the last time, and emerge as adults. The exuvia or abandoned exoskeletons remain, still clinging to the bark of the tree. 50. Most cicadas go through a life cycle that lasts 2 to 5 years. Some species have much longer life cycles, such as the North American genus, Magicicada, which has a number of distinct broods that go through either a 17-year brood 13 or in some parts of the region, a 13-year brood 19, life cycle 51. The long life cycles may have developed as a response to predators, such as the cicada killer wasp and praying mantis. 52, 53, 54. A specialist predator with a shorter life cycle of at least 2 years could not reliably prey upon the cicadas. 55. For example, a 17-year cicada with a predator with a 5-year life cycle will only be threatened by a peak predator population every 85, 5 times 17 years, while a non-prime cycle such as 15 would be endangered at every year of emergence. 56. An alternate hypothesis is that these long life cycles evolved during the ice ages so as to overcome cold spells, and that as species co-emerged and hybridized, they left distinct species that did not hybridize having periods matching prime numbers. 57. The 13 and 17-year cicadas only emerge in the Midwestern and Eastern U.S. in the same year every 221 years, 13 times 17, with 2024 being the first such year since 1803. 51. A teneral cicada that has just emerged and is waiting to dry before flying away. Newly emerged adult cicada held on human fingers. Cicada exuvi after the adult cicada has left. Cicada exuvi clinging to a leaf. Cicada clinging to the bark of an eastern red cedar tree in Oklahoma. Diet. Cicada nymphs drink sap from the xylem of various species of trees, including oak, cypress, willow, ash, and maple. While common folklore indicates that adults do not eat, they actually do drink plant sap using their sucking mouthparts. 58, 59. Cicadas excrete fluid in streams of droplets due to their high volume consumption of xylem sap. 60. The jets of urine that cicadas produce have a velocity of up to 3 meters per second, making them the fastest among all assessed animals, including mammals like elephants and horses. 61, 62. Locomotion. Cicadas, unlike other Ochinorintia, are not adapted for jumping, saltation. 63. They have the usual insect modes of locomotion, walking and flight, but they do not walk or run well, and take to the wing to travel distances greater than a few centimeters. 11. Predators, parasites, and pathogens. Eastern cicada killer wasp, Specius speciosus, with cicada prey, United States. Cicadas are commonly eaten by birds and mammals, 64, as well as bats, wasps, mantises, spiders, and robber flies. In times of mass emergence of cicadas, various amphibians, fish, reptiles, mammals, and birds change their foraging habits so as to benefit from the glut. Newly hatched nymphs may be eaten by ants, and nymphs living underground are preyed on by burrowing mammals such as moles. 28. In northern Japan, brown bears prey on final instar nymphs of cicadas during summer by digging up the ground. 65. In Australia, cicadas are preyed on by the Australian cicada killer wasp, Xeris lateritius, which stings and stuns cicadas high in the trees, making them drop to the ground, where the cicada hunter mounts and carries them, pushing with its hind legs, sometimes over a distance of 100 meters, until they can be shoved down into its burrow, where the numb cicadas are placed onto one of many shelves in a catacomb, to form the food stock for the wasp grub that grows out of the egg deposited there. 66. A katydid predator from Australia is capable of attracting singing male cicadas of a variety of species by imitating the timed click replies of sexually receptive female cicadas, which respond in pair formation by flicking their wings. 67. Their primonumber life cycle prevents predators with a life cycle of 2 or more years from synchronizing with their emergence. 56. Several fungal diseases infect and kill adult cicadas, while other fungi in the genera Ophiocordyceps and Isaria attack nymphs. 28. Massospora cicadina specifically attacks the adults of periodical cicadas, the spores remaining dormant in the soil between outbreaks. 68. This fungus is also capable of dosing cicadas with psilocybin, the psychedelic drug found in magic mushrooms, as well as cathinone, an alkaloid similar to various amphetamines. 68. This fungus is also capable of dosing cicadas with psilocybin, the psychedelic drug found in magic mushrooms, as well as cathinone, an alkaloid similar to various amphetamines. These chemicals alter the behavior of the cicadas, driving males to copulate, including attempts with males, and is thought to be beneficial to the fungus, as the fungal spores are dispersed by a larger number of infected carriers. 68. This fungus is also capable of dosing cicadas with psilocybin, the psychedelic. These chemicals. 69. Plants can also defend themselves against cicadas. Although cicadas can feed on the roots of gymnosperms, it has been found that resinous conifers such as pine do not allow the eggs of Magicicada to hatch, the resin sealing up the egg cavities. 70. 71. Antipredator adaptations. Cicada disruptively. Camouflaged on an olive tree. Cicadas use a variety of strategies to evade predators. Large cicadas can fly rapidly to escape if disturbed. 72. Many are extremely well camouflaged. 72. 73. To evade predators such as birds that hunt by sight. Being colored like tree bark and disruptively patterned to break up their outlines, they are difficult to discern. 74. Their partly transparent wings are held over the body and pressed close to the substrate. Some cicada species play dead when threatened. 75. 76. The day-flying cicada Huchis sanguinea warns off predators with its aposematic red and black coloration. Southeast Asia. Some cicadas such as Hemiptera maculopennis display bright diametic flash coloration on their hind wings when threatened. The sudden contrast helps to startle predators, giving the cicadas time to escape. 77. Most cicadas are diurnal and rely on camouflage when at rest, but some species use aposematism-related Batesian mimicry, wearing the bright colors that warn of toxicity in other animals. The Malaysian Huchis sanguinea has conspicuous red and black warning coloration, is diurnal, and boldly flies about in full view of possible predators. 78. Predators such as the sarcophagid fly Emblemosoma hunt cicadas by sound, being attracted to their songs. 79. Singing males soften their song so that the attention of the listener gets distracted to neighboring louder singers, or cease singing altogether as a predator approaches. A loud cicada song, especially in chorus, has been asserted to repel predators, but observations of predator responses refute the claim. 80. In human culture. In art and literature. Silver casket with writing utensils, made by the Nuremberg goldsmith Wenzel Jamnitzer, 1507-08-1585, a silver cicada is at lower left. Japanese snuff bottle in the form of a cicada, circa 1900. Cicadas have been featured in literature since the time of Homer's Iliad, and as motifs in decorative art from the Chinese Shang dynasty, 1766–1122 BCE. They are described by Aristotle in his History of Animals and by Pliny the Elder in his Natural History. Their mechanism of sound production is mentioned by Hesiod in his poem, Works and Days, when the scalamus flowers, and the tuneful Tetic sitting on his tree in the weary summer season pours forth from under his wings his shrill song. 82. In the classic 14th century Chinese novel Romance of the Three Kingdoms. Diochan took her name from the sable diao tails and jade decorations in the shape of cicadas, chan, which adorned the hats of high-level officials. In the Japanese novel The Tale of Genji, the title character poetically likens one of his many love interests to a cicada for the way she delicately sheds her robe the way a cicada sheds its shell when molting. Cicada exuvi play a role in the manga Winter Cicada. Cicadas are a frequent subject of haiku, where, depending on type, they can indicate spring, summer, or autumn. 83. Shantan's illustrated book Cicada tells the story of a hardworking but underappreciated cicada working in an office. 84. Brandon Jacobs Jenkins' play Appropriate takes place on an Arkansas farm in summer, and calls for the sounds of mating cicadas to underscore the entire show. 85. In fashion. Being lightweight, and with hook-like legs, the exuvi of cicadas can be used as hair or clothing accessories. 86. As food and folk medicine. Deep-fried Cryptotympana atrata in Shandong cuisine. Cicadas were eaten in ancient Greece, and are consumed in selected regions in modern China, both as adults and, more often, as nymphs. 87. Cicadas are also eaten in Malaysia, Burma, North America, and Central Africa, as well as the Baluchistan region of Pakistan, especially in Ziyarat. 88. Female cicadas are prized for being meatier. 47. Shells of cicadas are employed in traditional Chinese medicines. 89. The 17-year Onondaga brood. 90. Magicicada is culturally important and a particular delicacy to the Onondaga people. 91. And are considered a novelty food item by modern consumers in several states. 92. In music. Cicadas are featured in the protest song, Como la cigara, like the cicada, written by Argentinian poet and composer Maria Elena Walsh. In the song, the cicada is a symbol of survival and defiance against death. The song was recorded by Mercedes Sosa, among other Latin American musicians. In North America and Mexico, there is a well-known song, La Cigara, the Cicada, written by Raimundo Perez Soto, which is a song in the mariachi tradition, that romanticizes the insect as a creature that sings until it dies. 93. Brazilian artist Lenin with his track, Malvadeza, from the album Ciao, creates a song built upon the sound of the cicada that can be heard along the track. 94. Cicada sounds heavily feature on the 2021 album Solar Power by New Zealand artist Lorde. She described cicada song as being emblematic of the New Zealand summer. 95. In mythology and folklore. Jade cicada amulets. Western Han Dynasty 206 BCE, CE 8. Cicadas have been used as money, in folk medicine, to forecast the weather, to provide song, in China, and in folklore and myths around the world. 96. In France, the cicada represents the folklore of Provence and the Mediterranean cities. 97. The cicada has represented insouciance since classical antiquity. Jean de La Fontaine began his collection of fables Les Fables de La Fontaine with the story, La Cigale et la Fourmi, the cicada and the ant, based on one of Aesop's fables. In it, the cicada spends the summer singing, while the ant stores away food, and the cicada finds herself without food when the weather turns bitter. 98. In Chinese tradition, the cicada Chan symbolizes rebirth and immortality. 99. In the Chinese essay, 36 Stratagems, the phrase, to shed the golden cicada skin, simplified Chinese, Jin Chan Tuo Ke, traditional Chinese, Jin Chan Tuo Ke, pinyin, Jin Chan Tuao Chao is the poetic name for using a decoy, leaving the exuvi, to fool enemies. 100. In the Chinese classic novel Journey to the West, 16th century, the protagonist priest of Tang was named the golden cicada. 101. In Japan, the cicada is associated with the summer season. 102. For many Japanese people, summer hasn't officially begun until the first songs of the cicada are heard. 103. According to Lafcadio Hearn, the song of Maimuna Opalifera, called Suku Suku Boshi, is said to indicate the end of summer, and it is called so because of its particular call. 104. In the Homeric hymn to Aphrodite, the goddess Aphrodite retells the legend of how Eos, the goddess of the dawn, requested Zeus to let her lover Tithonus live forever as an immortal. 105. Zeus granted her request, but because Eos forgot to ask him to also make Tithonus ageless, Tithonus never died, but he did grow old. 105. Eventually, he became so tiny and shriveled that he turned into the first cicada. 105. The Greeks also used a cicada sitting on a harp as an emblem of music. 106. In Kapampangan mythology in the Philippines, the goddess of dusk, Sisilim, is said to be greeted by the sounds and appearances of cicadas whenever she appears. 107. As pests. Cicadas feed on sap. They do not bite or sting in a true sense, but may occasionally mistake a person's arm for a plant limb and attempt to feed. 108. Male cicadas produce very